If you'd rather fight a bear than attend a crowded concert, congratulations. Your brain just saved you from a psychological nightmare that most people are too distracted to notice. And no, you're not damaged. You're just seeing something everyone else is blind to. Picture this, it's Saturday night, your phone buzzes. Hey, we're all meeting at that new downtown spot, super packed, but the vibe is amazing. And immediately your soul leaves your body, not because you hate fun, but because your brain just calculated the cost of that vibe and decided bankruptcy isn't worth it. You're not broken, you're not boring, and you're definitely not the problem. Your psychology is just playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Let me break down what's really happening in that beautiful, complicated brain of yours. Your brain has zero chill. And that's actually genius. Most people's brains come with a spam filter, walk into a crowd, their brain deletes 90% of the input. Ignore that guy's laugh, ignore the flickering light, ignore the 17 conversations happening at once. Your brain, it's screenshotting everything, recording, analyzing, cross-referencing. Scientists call this sensory processing sensitivity. Fancy term for your brain is that friend who notices everything and remembers everything and never lets anything go. Every time someone shifts their weight, every micro expression that flashes across a stranger's face, every tonal change in the background music, you're processing it all simultaneously. It's like everyone else is watching life in 480p and you're stuck with an 8K IMAX experience you never asked for. Research shows that approximately 20% of the population has this heightened sensitivity, which means 1 in 5 people is walking around with their nervous system permanently set to perceive literally everything or die trying. And here's what makes it even more intense. Your brain doesn't just collect this information, it stores it, categorizes it, and references it later. That random interaction from 3 weeks ago that nobody else remembers, your brain filed it under possibly relevant and keeps pulling it up for review. It's not overthinking. It's your neural network doing exactly what it was designed to do. Make sense of complex patterns others miss entirely. Here's the wild part. This trait kept humans alive for millennia. While the extroverts were vibing around the campfire, your ancestors were the ones who heard the predator approaching, who noticed the poisonous plant, who sensed danger before it arrived. You're not too much. You're exactly what survival needed. But modern society, yeah, it wasn't designed for people who actually pay attention. You're not antisocial, you're anti-BS. Let's get one thing straight. You don't hate people, you hate the performance. In crowds, everyone's wearing a mask. The I'm having so much fun mask, the I'm totally listening mask, the I'm fine, everything's fine mask, while their eye is literally twitching. And you can see through every single one. It's exhausting, not because you're judgmental, but because your brain is constantly translating the real conversation happening beneath the words, the body language, the energy, the truth. Nobody's saying out loud. Psychologists call this high perceptual sensitivity. Your emotional radar is so finely tuned. You're basically a human lie detector who didn't ask for the job. One study from Cambridge University found that people who prefer solitude score significantly higher in emotional intelligence than their crowd-loving counterparts. Translation: you're not socially inept, you're socially sophisticated, you just refuse to play pretend. You'd rather have one honest conversation at 3 a.m. than attend 50 networking events where everyone's performing their highlight reel. And honestly, that's not a flaw, that's integrity. The problem isn't that you can't do small talk, it's that your brain experiences it like chewing on cardboard while everyone else acts like it's a 5-star meal. Your nervous system craves substance, depth, real connection. And when forced to engage in surface level exchanges, it's like asking a philosopher to get excited about discussing the weather. You're capable of it, sure, but at what cost? Your dopamine system said, nah, I'm good. Here's where your brain gets really interesting. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, works completely differently for you. When extroverts walk into a party, their brains throw a dopamine parade, fireworks, confetti, the whole deal. Your brain, cricket sounds. Instead of dopamine, Your system runs on acetylcholine, completely different neurotransmitter that rewards introspection, deep focus, and wait for it, being alone. It's not that social situations don't reward you, it's that your brain literally gets its high from different sources. Reading a book at midnight, taking a solo walk where nobody asks you questions, sitting in a quiet room just thinking. While extroverts need external stimulation to feel alive, you need internal space to access your full operating system. Neuroscientists discover that introverted brains actually have thicker gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for complex thinking and planning. So when you're doing nothing, your brain is actually doing everything: processing, connecting, creating. You're not wasting time. You're composing symphonies in your head while everyone else is listening to elevator music. That's not weird. That's evolutionary brilliance. You're basically an emotional Wi-Fi router. Ever walk into a space and immediately know something's wrong, even when everyone's smiling? That's because your brain has what psychologists call mirror neurons on steroids. You don't just observe emotions, you download them. Spend an hour in a crowd, and you're not just managing your own feelings, you're accidentally absorbing everyone else's emotional stress, anxiety, excitement, and chaos like some kind of emotional sponge nobody has to be. It's psychological overload. Your nervous system is trying to process 300 people's emotional data while also remembering to breathe. No wonder you need 3 business days to recover from a 2-hour event. But here's the superpower part. This makes you one of the most emotionally intelligent people in any room. You understand subtext, you read between the lines, you sense what people need before they say it. Most people barely understand their own emotions. You're out here understanding everyone's emotions. That's not a curse. That's a gift most people would break under. You're not running from life. You're running towards yourself. Society has this weird obsession with equating busy and loud with successful and happy. If you're not at every event, posting every moment, surrounding yourself with people 24/7, you're somehow failing at life. But here's what they don't understand. You figured out what most people spend decades avoiding. Silence isn't empty, it's where clarity lives. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's where you actually meet yourself. You're not missing out, you're opting out of a system that was never built for people who think deeply, feel deeply, and see deeply. You understand something profound. The quietest rooms often hold the loudest truths. Your peace isn't isolation, it's liberation. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. There's a psychological concept called optimal stimulation theory, and it basically explains why you and your extroverted friend can be at the exact same party and have completely opposite experiences. Every brain has a baseline level of arousal it needs to feel comfortable. Too little stimulation, boredom, too much overwhelming anxiety. For extroverts, that baseline is high. They need constant input to feel normal. For you, that baseline is already elevated. Your brain is already humming with activity, processing, analyzing, creating connections. Adding more stimulation doesn't enhance your experience, it overloads your circuits. It's like trying to add more tabs to a browser that's already running 40. Eventually, something crashes. And that something is usually your patience, your energy, or your will to continue pretending you're enjoying the world's loudest birthday party. Let's talk about something nobody tells you: the hangover effect. No, not from alcohol, from people. Researchers have documented what they call social exhaustion syndrome, the profound depletion that highly sensitive and introverted individuals experience after extended social engagement. It's not laziness. It's not being dramatic. Your brain literally spent hours in fight or flight mode, processing threats that weren't physical but felt just as real to your nervous system. That crowded room with the loud music and the people talking over each other, your brain registered it as chaos, potential danger, something to be navigated carefully. So while everyone else was dancing, your prefrontal cortex was working overtime, calculating exits, reading faces, managing conversations, filtering noise. You weren't partying, you were surviving, and survival takes energy. No wonder you need 48 hours of silence to feel human again. Here's something that might blow your mind. Studies on creativity consistently show that solitude is the birthplace of original thought. In a world obsessed with collaboration and brainstorming sessions and open plan offices, the most groundbreaking ideas actually emerge from minds that have space to wander. Einstein did his best thinking on long, solitary walks. Newton's greatest breakthrough came during isolation. Darwin spent years alone on a ship thinking. You're not weird for needing alone time to function. You're following the exact pattern of some of history's most brilliant minds. Your brain understands intuitively what productivity culture keeps forgetting. Innovation requires incubation, and incubation requires solitude. Every time you choose a quiet evening over a crowded bar, you're not missing opportunities. You're creating space for ideas that crowds would have drowned out. Let's address the elephant in the room: guilt. You feel it, don't you? That nagging voice that says you should be more social, you should go to the thing, you should want to be around people more. Society has programmed you to believe that connection only happens in groups, that friendship is measured in hangouts, that love requires constant proximity. But here's what psychology actually tells us: the quality of connection matters infinitely more than the quantity. One deep relationship is worth more to your mental health than 100 surface level acquaintances. You're not failing at friendship by having fewer friends. You're actually succeeding at intimacy by choosing depth over breadth. The people who truly matter understand this. They don't need you at every event to know you care. They know that when you do show up, it means something. Your presence is a gift precisely because it's intentional. Now, let's talk about something called the spotlight effect. It's a cognitive bias where we dramatically overestimate how much attention others pay to us. When you're in a crowd feeling awkward, you assume everyone notices. They don't. Most people are too busy worrying about their own perceived awkwardness to catalog yours. But here's the twist for sensitive minds like yours. While the spotlight effect normally makes people anxious about themselves, your heightened perception actually picks up on real social dynamics others miss. So when you feel watched or judged, sometimes you actually are picking up on subtle cues. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Your brain isn't lying to you, it's giving you accurate data that others are too distracted to receive. The challenge becomes learning to distinguish between genuine social signals and your nervous system's tendency to amplify everything. It's like having a smoke detector that's incredibly accurate, but also incredibly sensitive. Yes, it catches real fires, but it also goes off when you make toast. There's a concept in developmental psychology called the orchid dandelion hypothesis. Dandelion children can thrive anywhere. They're resilient regardless of environment. Orchid children, they're different. They're highly sensitive to their surroundings. In harsh environments, they wilt, but in nurturing environments, they don't just survive, they flourish beyond what dandelions ever could. You're not a dandelion pretending to be an orchid. You're an orchid that society keeps planting in dandelion conditions and then blaming for not thriving. The solution isn't to become something you're not. The solution is to build environments that match your needs. Choose your spaces, curate your inputs, protect your energy like the finite resource it actually is. When you stop trying to survive everywhere and start choosing where you bloom, everything changes. Let's get into something called the default mode network. When you're not focused on the external world, your brain doesn't shut down. It activates a sprawling neural network that's responsible for self-reflection, imagination, memory consolidation, and creative thinking. For people who crave solitude, this network is more active and more developed. That thing you do where you stare out the window and everyone thinks you're doing nothing, your brain is doing intense internal work, making connections, processing experiences, generating insights. Solitude doesn't make you empty, it makes you full in ways that constant external stimulation prevents. Every time you zone out, your brain is essentially defragging itself, organizing information, and preparing for creative breakthroughs. The people who call this lazy fundamentally misunderstand how cognition works. Here's a truth most people avoid. Modern social environments are largely artificial constructs that don't align with how humans evolved to connect. For hundreds of thousands of years, human socialization happened in small, stable groups with a deep interconnection. Everyone knew everyone. Relationships had history. Context was built over years, not minutes. The modern cocktail party, the networking event, the crowded club, these are evolutionary aberrations. Your discomfort isn't dysfunction, it's your ancient brain correctly identifying that something's off. You're designed for village level intimacy, not stadium level superficiality. When you feel exhausted by crowds of strangers, you're experiencing the mismatch between your evolutionary programming and the bizarre social environment modernity has created. You're not the problem. The environment is the problem. Let's talk about boundaries. You've probably been told your boundaries are too rigid, that you need to be more flexible, more open, more available. But here's what's actually happening: your boundaries exist because your sensitivity makes boundary violations more painful. What feels like a minor intrusion to someone else registers as a significant breach to you. This isn't weakness, it's accurate perception of your own limits. Healthy boundaries aren't walls, they're membranes. They let good things in and keep harmful things out. The people who respect your boundaries aren't being inconvenienced, they're being given clear instructions on how to maintain a relationship with you. Anyone who treats your limits as obstacles rather than information isn't respecting your autonomy, then they're probably not someone who should have access to your inner world anyway. Something important: the dichotomy between introvert and extrovert is a spectrum, not a binary. You might love performing on stage, but hate the after party. You might enjoy small gatherings, but dread large ones. You might be the life of the room for exactly 90 minutes before your battery dies and you need to disappear. These contradictions don't make you inconsistent, they make you human. The categories are useful shorthand, but they'll never capture the full complexity of your relationship with social energy. Stop trying to fit perfectly into any box. Your patterns are yours. Your needs are valid even when they don't match a textbook definition. The goal isn't to understand yourself through labels, it's to understand yourself through observation, through trial and error, through honest reflection about what actually serves you versus what you've been told should serve you. Now, let's address the people in your life who don't get it. The friends who take your need for alone time as rejection. The family members who think something's wrong with you, the coworkers who assume you're antisocial because you don't join every happy hour. You have options. You can explain, you can share videos like this one, you can try to translate your experience into terms they'll understand. But ultimately, you can't force understanding. Some people will never get it because they've never experienced anything similar. Their brains work differently, and that's okay. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need a small circle of people who either naturally get it or love you enough to accept what they don't understand. Save your explanation energy for those people. Everyone else gets the polite version and nothing more. Here's something counterintuitive. Your need for solitude actually makes your social contributions more valuable, not less. When you do engage, you bring presence, you bring attention, you bring genuine interest because you're not spreading yourself thin across every interaction. The friend who shows up exhausted to every event brings diminished attention to all of them. You show up selectively, which means when you're there, you're actually there. Quality over quantity isn't just a coping mechanism, it's a legitimate strategy for meaningful connection. The people who matter will recognize this. They'll notice that conversations with you feel different, deeper, more real. They'll understand that your absence isn't indifference, it's preservation of the energy that makes your presence worth having. Let's talk about the long game. Research consistently shows that highly sensitive individuals who learn to honor their needs rather than fight them report higher life satisfaction in the long term. The initial years can be hard, especially when you're young and social pressure is intense. But as you age, something shifts. You stop apologizing, you stop explaining, you stop pretending to be someone whose neurological wiring you don't have. And suddenly, the things that made you weird become the things that make you fascinating. Your depth of thought, your capacity for insight, your preference for substance, these aren't liabilities, they're assets that appreciate over time. While others burn out from decades of overstimulation, you've been conserving, building, deepening. The tortoise and the hare had nothing on you. There's a meditation teacher who said something that sticks. Solitude is the furnace of transformation, not in some mystical sense, but in a practical psychological sense. Time alone is where you process, where you integrate, where you become. Every major life decision you've made, well, you probably made after significant time and reflection. Every creative breakthrough came after periods of withdrawal. Every genuine personal growth happened when you had space to actually grow. The noise of crowds doesn't just distract you, it interrupts the fundamental processes that make you who you are. Protecting your solitude isn't selfish, it's essential maintenance for the self that exists beneath all the social performances, something nobody talks about: the physical toll. Sensory processing sensitivity doesn't just affect your psychology, it affects your body. That exhaustion after crowds, it's real, it's measurable. Your cortisol levels spike in overstimulating environments. Your heart rate varies differently than less sensitive individuals. You're not imagining the physical drain. Your body is working harder to maintain equilibrium in environments that others find energizing. Understanding this changes the conversation from why are you so tired to how can you build a life that doesn't constantly deplete you. It's not about toughening up. It's about working with your physiology rather than against it. Athletes don't shame themselves for needing rest after exertion, neither should you. Let's end with this. You didn't choose your neurology, but you can choose how you respond to it. You can spend your life apologizing for who you are, fighting your natural inclinations, exhausting yourself in pursuit of an extrovert ideal you'll never reach. Or you can build a life that honors your actual design. You can select environments that nurture rather than deplete. You can cultivate relationships with people who appreciate depth over frequency. You can pursue work that rewards focus over visibility. You can stop measuring yourself against standards that were never meant for minds like yours. The world needs people who think deeply, who notice what others miss, who have the patience to understand complex things. That's you. That's always been you. Stop trying to be someone else. Start building a life where who you actually are can finally thrive. So the next time someone asks, why don't you go out more? Just remember, they're asking why you don't drain yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for minds like yours. You're not broken. You're not boring. You're not antisocial. You're just built for depth in a world obsessed with noise. And honestly, that's exactly what makes you rare. So tell me, are you team crowds give me life or team I'd rather befriend a cactus? Drop it in the comments. Let's find our people. If this resonated, hit subscribe and click this next video on screen. It dives into another introvert trait most people misunderstand and will feel uncomfortably accurate.